So it's pretty common when people get into health, and especially when they get into taking herbal medicine, that some people may have a bit of an apprehension around using tinctures or alcohol-based herbal extracts. And the reason some people struggle with this one is generally because they hold the belief that alcohol is bad for us, it's bad for the liver, and it generally causes more health problems than it offers solutions to them. And in a modern context, generally speaking, this would be true, you know, because people are drinking way too much. They're using it as a way of sedating themselves so that they can deal with their... Also, the quality of the alcohol people are consuming is really poor. People are drinking beers that are like brewed from start to finish in 24 hours, and the only way that that's made possible is loads of chemical additives thrown in there. So we're consuming very poor quality alcohol and way too much of it, and yes, it causes all of these health problems that are associated with alcohol. But the thing is, every single indigenous culture the world over throughout human history has used alcohol as a medicinal substance, right? They've all had a history of preparing alcohol-based herbal extracts. But obviously, in referring to that, we could say that the alcohol was being made on a much smaller scale with ingredients that hold a lot of natural integrity, and it would have been administered and consumed with a lot of wisdom and with a big tradition of wisdom behind that, not just mindlessly consumed on a Friday night to kind of blot out the previous week of stress that we've been exposed to. So as with every substance, it can have a medicinal application or it can be misused, right? Something like a natural health food can have a toxic dose, or we could take a very toxic substance, and if we administer it at the right dose in the right circumstances, it could have a medicinal benefit. So it really all depends on us and how we approach the situation and what degree of wisdom we apply to that situation. Because by demonizing something just from a very one-dimensional perspective, we can be excluding the very thing that might be the most beneficial for us at that time. There really are so many different herbal constituents, and there's a number of different ways that we can extract them. It really depends on which herbs we're working with and why we're working with them, what we're actually hoping to achieve by working with them. But because alcohol is very commonly used as a solvent in making herbal tinctures, I think it's probably a good idea that we take a look at what are the plus sides of doing that and what might be some of the downsides of doing that. So on the plus side, alcohol is actually one of the few edible substances that we can use to effectively extract some very important constituents, like a number of different alkaloids, essential oils, some of the plant sterols, some terpene compounds, and resins. Alcohol is actually an excellent preservative as well. So if our herbal extract has 30% alcohol by volume or above, then it can preserve the potency and the freshness of that extract for many years. And in real terms, it can pretty much preserve it indefinitely. It may even outlive us if we don't use it within our lifetime. Alcohol can upregulate the absorption capacity of the medicine, because often when we're taking it in tincture form, we're taking it sublingually under the tongue, so the medicine can actually absorb directly into the bloodstream through the capillaries under the tongue very, very quickly. It can do that in a matter of minutes. So we can really get that medicine into the bloodstream super fast. And even if we were to swallow the tincture, alcohol is one of the select few substances that can actually pass through the walls of the stomach and into the bloodstream very, very quickly. So this is really why when we're drinking alcohol, it can have such an immediate effect on our central nervous system. Alcohol-based tinctures also enable us to create very potent herbal extracts that deliver a concentrated dose of this medicine in only a very small quantity of alcohol in a very small dose. So for example, one dose which, let's say for example, is about 30 drops of a tincture that has about 50% alcohol by volume, that's only going to contain, that one dose of 30 drops is only going to contain about as much alcohol as you're going to find in about 5 milliliters of a standard 5% beer, which works out to be about 1/65th of a small can of one of those small 330 milliliter cans, not even the regular size can of beer. Now this same amount is approximately equivalent to about an 85th of a standard 8-ounce glass of red wine, which is an absolutely tiny, tiny amount. So if we want to rephrase this again, we could see that this dose in a single tincture is about as much alcohol as you're going to find in one very overripe banana, the kind that we've left for way too long and it's started to go all black, and if you peel it, you know, it's completely mushy inside and it's really starting to ferment. But there's as much alcohol in one standard dose of tincture as you're going to find in one very overripe banana, which, if we're honest, isn't really that much at all. In some ancient medical systems, like traditional Tibetan medicine, very low, safe, medicinal qualities of alcohol have been used to dilate the various channels of the body and open up the meridian pathways and allow the improved systemic circulation of fluids and qi energy. So using alcohol in this way, applying this kind of medical or medicinal wisdom, this can really support the utilization of really any medicine that we're taking. So there's a lot of very genuine, very valid reasons why alcohol is used as a solvent in herbal medicine. But of course, there are some downsides. For example, if somebody has a history of alcohol abuse, then if they feel like they can't go near alcohol of any form, then that is absolutely understandable, and they should avoid alcohol in all forms, including herbal tinctures. And in that situation, glycerin-based tinctures are a good alternative, but you know, it should be said, glycerin is a very good preservative, but it's not nearly as effective as alcohol at extracting the full spectrum of constituents that we might find in any given plant. So it really isn't that good at extracting oily constituents and resins and those kind of things. Vinegar-based tinctures are another alternative, but again, their potency is dramatically less than alcohol-based tinctures, and their shelf life is also a lot less. Otherwise, alcohol could still be used, but it could be diluted a lot with water so that the water really reduces the alcohol volume so much that it is completely undetectable to our senses. Another contraindication to using alcohol in herbal medicine would be people that have a very strong predominance of the fire element within their constitution, or if they have any kind of pathology that's very heat related, maybe, you know, any liver issues, liver cirrhosis, or any gallbladder congestion, maybe they have jaundice of some sort, maybe they have quite yellowy eyes, maybe a lot of swelling. Anything that's related to heat or can be traced back to the liver, any of these conditions, generally we would say that people like that should be avoiding alcohol of all kinds in any form. And we often find as well that people like this generally need less of a concentration of everything, you know, even in nutrients, even in the food that they're eating. They don't want to be having stuff that's really, really nutrient dense and really strong and potent. Often medicine for people like this can be much more effective in a more diluted, more cooling form. So people in situations like that might actually find herbal teas to be more beneficial, and even extracting the tea and then allowing it to cool first before consuming it. So while there are a minority of instances where using alcohol as a herbal menstruum may not be the best idea, I think generally speaking all of the concern and all of the apprehension surrounding this is based upon a natural hygiene fallacy that alcohol of any amount whatsoever is going to be toxic to the liver, which, you know, in truth, such a minute amount of alcohol is not going to pose any adverse health risks at all. It's quite the opposite, actually. If high-grade, top-quality alcohol is used intelligently and strategically, it can be one of the ultimate means for extracting, preserving, and delivering natural medicine into the body.